In this video, we're going to take a look at the two main types of fonts. Serif fonts, which are characterized by these little artistic swizzles on the end of letter forms. So like at the bottom of the R, the I, and the F at the top there, those are serifs. Kind of the fat part of the F on the right, that's a serif. It's also on the R. You've got those little accents on the S. These are serifs. They are decorative pieces added to letter forms to make them look more elegant and sophisticated, and to give some life to the text. And we are going to compare those to sans-serif fonts, which lack those extra artistic details and look a little bit simpler. All right, let's dive in. We're going to start by taking a look at some serif fonts, which are more sophisticated, more luxurious, more elegant, and more authoritative than their sans-serif counterparts. When I think about serif fonts, I think about high-minded publications. I think about things like the New York Times. I think about academic journals. I think about things like medicine, really important topics, serious topics, things like that. So what kind of brands should use a serif font? Well, I'm thinking about luxury brands, fashion brands, lifestyles, classy organizations like country clubs perhaps, classical venues like an opera house or a playhouse, something like that, where you want the audience, to dress nicely and come prepared for a fine evening. And also maybe some artsy or creative endeavors where you want people to think that you have a sophisticated offering. Let's check out some brands that are using serif fonts, all right? First one comes to mind, Harvard University, elite academic institution, authoritative publications. Of course these guys are using a serif font. It's the only thing that makes sense. And next, we have the Wall Street Journal, a very classy, high-minded publication only for smart people who are investing their money, making lots of money. Smart, rich, classy. Of course, it's a serif font, the Wall Street Journal. How about a fashion brand? That's Kendra Scott right there. And of course, you got jewelry, it's beauty, it's lifestyle, it's aspirational. All this stuff goes together. It fits very nicely with the serif font. Nothing else would make any sense here. Kendra Scott. Here's a fun one, Vanity Fair magazine, been around forever, but it's about lifestyle, it's about aspirational stuff, it's about the good life. Makes perfect sense that they have chosen a serif font for their brand. And I'm gonna give a little teaser here for my next video. This is not just a serif font, this is one that's called a Didone subvariant, which is associated with elegance and beauty. And so specifically what determines a Didone font is these very tall letter forms and also the use of very stark lines, such as the left side of the V in Vanity, contrasted with very narrow lines, such as the right side of the V in Vanity. Once you see this, you can't unsee it. So this is a Didone style font, but you're always going to think about luxury and elegance when you see such a font in use. One more serif example to look at here. This one's for Fuori, which is an athleisure fashion brand that is a direct competitor to Lululemon. Now keep this one in mind. We're going to come revisit this in just a moment after we look at Lululemon. But suffice it to say, a very interesting branding choice for Fuori to go with the high-minded and exclusive serif font in their branding. Stay tuned. Moving on to the sans-serif portion of our program, sans-serif fonts are different from serif fonts in that they are simple, practical, approachable, and fun. And so places you might want to use sans-serif fonts would be for like a technical manual, something that is probably complicated on its face, but you want to make it seem simpler. So any kind of technical manual or instructions, you want those to be in a sans-serif font. So what kind of brands or endeavors might benefit from sans-serif fonts? Technology companies, software companies, anything having to do with kids, anything having to do with sports, maybe any initiative that is for openness or inclusion or accessibility, anything like that should probably use a sans-serif font. And also public signage. Think about road signs. They always use sans-serif fonts. There's no nonsense visual details on there. It's just straight to the point. Public signage, sans-serif fonts. Now let's look at some examples of brands using sans-serif fonts. The first one here is MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And I bring this up to contrast it with Harvard, which we saw earlier is using a serif font in its branding. But MIT is the home of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Their whole thing is problem solving and practicality. So there's no unnecessary details, no extra fluff. It is just hardcore pragmatism, practicality, problem solving, right to the point, MIT. And how about this for a change of pace? What about Topgolf? So as I said earlier, any brands talking about sports, entertainment, fun, that kind of thing, that's a sans-serif vibe. Topgolf captures it perfectly here. How about another one? This is Netflix. You're getting the idea, right? Entertainment, fun, sans-serif. You see the deal. Thank you, Sarah. I have another. This one's Xbox. Entertainment, fun, sans-serif. Ooh, now we've got a fun one. This is Lululemon. This is a fashion brand. And I said earlier that fashion brands, lifestyle brands, luxury brands, this kind of thing, should probably use serif fonts to align themselves with that end of the spectrum. But Lululemon, interestingly, goes against the grain here and uses a very practical, very unassuming sans-serif font in their branding. And I think there's a couple reasons they do this. I think the main reason is that the logo, that U-shaped upside down ovary looking logo, it's rounded and playful. This would look really weird set against a serif font. It just wouldn't, that pairing would not seem right. So Lulu probably had, they have a good problem to have, right? And that is having a recognizable logo that does not need any text. Another example of a super recognizable logo with no text, Apple. You would know that brand anywhere just from the icon. So Lulu is really an icon brand and not so much a typography-based brand, as evidenced by the mark here, the very boring presentation of Lululemon in a sans-serif font. But we're going to look at Fuori again in just a second to contrast it with this, and I'm going to offer some insight as to why I think Fuori has become the #1 competitor to Lululemon, and it's strictly about branding. Let's take a look. All right, so here's Fuori again. So let's talk about athleisure real quick. Athleisure brands are super ascendant in the fashion world. It's really like the main thing right now. And Lululemon has been dominating that market for some time now. But there's been quite a few upstart competitors, but by far the most successful so far is Fuori. And I think Fuori is the #1 competitor to Lululemon because of its branding. Fuori is the only competitor, I'm talking about like Fabletics, Athleta, some of these other athleisure brands. All of them use sans-serif branding, but Fuori is the only one with sophisticated, kind of yacht-adjacent serif typography branding. So there's something to think about. I think this enables them to charge similar prices to Lululemon and to be seen as an alternative competitor. They can charge similar prices. They can achieve super high margins because they have put out this sophisticated front via their branding, and they're getting away with it because they're super successful. Something to think about.